Call the meeting of the Planning Commission for, what is today, March 28th, 2019 to order, please. If y'all please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you very much. If the clerk will call the roll tonight, please.
John Junko?
Here.
Maria Mills Burnett?
Here.
Bo Bothamy?
I'm here.
Lance Green?
Here.
Newton White?
Here.
Joe Fazzi? Chairman Thomas Jordan?
Here. Very good. Consideration of the minutes from last month.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any changes or anything anybody notice? No? Just as is. If you call the roll on the motion, please.
John Junko?
Yes.
Maria Mills Burnett?
Yes.
Bo Bothamy?
Yes.
Lance Green?
Yes.
Newton White?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas Jordan?
Yes. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to our first case and the only case tonight. So, case number 19-9000002, a variance for 5807 Clover Lane.
Is this the only item that we got, so we got to drag this out for 2 hours?
I'm not getting paid for that.
We can
There's beer out there, Lance.
Yeah.
There's beer.
Can't break the record.
There's always signs to talk about.
You are not Max Garcia.
No, I am not. I am
Okay.
Penelope Cruz, Community Development. So before you tonight is a variance for a fence located at 5807 Clover Lane. Here's just some pictures of the fence here. The staff report went into details, basically an after-the-fact variance for a fence that was installed in November 2016. There's just been some history there with code enforcement and building permits, and now at this point we are at the subject variance application. Staff reviewed the variance criteria pursuant to the Land Development Code and found that there is no special circumstances or anything that meets the hardship criteria as written in the Land Development Code, and is therefore recommending denial, and is here to answer any questions you might have regarding, and the applicant is also here and I'm sure would like to speak to it.
Okay. Alrighty. Hey, Lance, you want to start? Any questions?
I don't have anything yet. I want to wait to hear from the applicant.
Same.
Sorry, Newton. Good. Bo?
Not yet. Thank you.
I'm good for the minute.
And John?
Same here.
Right. I have a question. There was a permit issued for this at some point?
So it was built in November after Hurricane Matthew to replace an existing fence that was already there when they purchased the property. We can't find a record of a fence permit for that prior existing fence. So the applicant
You're talking
built
about the fence that was
before
brought
they bought the
down
property.
Okay.
So and that
Okay.
came down with the hurricane, and they rebuilt it without a permit. They stated that they weren't aware that they needed a permit because one's not, I guess, required in the state that they primarily live in. And so they were cited for work without a permit then, and so that kind of went on for a little bit, and they submitted a permit then, so that was November. They submitted a permit the following May 2017. It was originally submitted to rebuild the fence in its existing location, the 6-foot high, right on the property line, not set back. The permit was then revised per the code, and so they approved, they picked up the permit that was revised and approved to build it per code, 4-foot height, setback, 5 feet off the right-of-way. And as the year and a half progressed, code enforcement went on, did their inspections, and nothing really changed. The fence didn't change its location. So there was some magistrate hearings scheduled to deal with the code case, and then the permit was extended each time, which gave them more time to move the fence and put it in the proper location. And then January we got the application for variance. So the permit's from 2017, but nothing has been done to actually move or relocate the fence per the approved permit.
I do have a question. How tall was the original fence?
According to the applicant, the original fence that was there that they were replacing was a 6-foot fence in the current location, but there's no record of a building permit for it. So just like in all situations, when people come in and say, I'm just trying to replace what's there now, if there's not a permit for what's there now, the standard, staff reviews it consistently. I'm not sure how that got built where it's at, now, but we have to follow the rules now, and this is what the rules are.
That's what the LDC says, right?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, thank you. I just want to make sure I understood what I was reading. Cool. Do we have the applicant here today? You want to come up and speak to us? Just need to give your name and address and.
My name is Mark Bellius, and this is my wife Suzanne Bellius. The house here in question is 5807 Clover Lane, Port Orange. Our primary residence is 946 Hocking Road, Little Hocking, Ohio.
Oh yeah.
So for quite some time, my wife and I have, eventually want to relocate, retire down here in Florida, get away from the cold. So for several years, we've looked for a property, found the Clover Lane property. House was a distressed property, had gone through foreclosure. When we purchased the house, lot was completely overgrown. To walk down the sidewalk, literally you had to walk underneath the brush that overhung the rotted, dilapidated 6-foot privacy fence. We bought the house, I think we closed in July. Later that same summer, in the fall, was when Hurricane Matthew came through, wiped out the fence. So at the time we were in Ohio, the property has a in-ground swimming pool. At the time, which was covered up with the plywood and stuff like the banks were doing at the time with vacant properties. Plywood was rotted, collapsing into the pool as well. So in December of that same year, my brother-in-law and I came down to clean up the debris, replace the existing fence, secure the pool. I felt that it was an extreme danger to the neighborhood to have an open in-ground pool in the backyard where we've got a lot of, I'd say 8 to 10-year-old, maybe 12-year-old kids ride their bicycles around. I don't know about you guys, but when I was that age, something like that would be just such a temptation that, So we came down, cleaned up the debris, replaced the fence, put it in the same footprint that it's in. Also, my soil on my lot, I assume when they dug the pool out, they just lost the sand on the lot. So my lot and the pool deck sets considerably high. I probably got I guess around a 2-foot elevation between the sidewalk to the pool deck. All that soil had eroded out onto the sidewalk into the backyard of the back neighbors. The privacy fence was actually acting almost as a retaining wall, was shoving it out at the base. The soil under the pool deck was so eroded you could put your arm back up underneath the pool deck. So we dug all that soil back. And so I did a retaining wall with 2x6s on the base of it to retain that soil. And this is part of what now the city is claiming that the fence is even higher than that. But on the soils on my side, it's not. Now it has compacted over the last 2 years, and we could address that. So anyway, when we finally, the city, said, hey, this was built without a permit. So we had to jump through the hoops for that. Then the city, of course, wanted, I guess, a survey, which I didn't have a survey. And at the time, the survey companies were backed up because they were doing surveys everywhere. So it took like an additional, I think, 6 weeks to get a survey back. So actually, I would have been in violation of state code, state law, if I had left that open. It probably would have been open better part of 3 months before the fence could have got built. So did I build without a permit? Absolutely I did. No question, not denying that whatsoever. If that was wrong, I guess I'll take that as opposed to endangering neighborhood children or whatever. Actually, the lady right behind me had called me about it because her dogs were coming over into my yard. She's got 2 or 3 little dogs, and she was afraid the dogs were going to fall in the pool and drown. Very reasonable concern, I believe. So at any rate, we did that. And then once I'm down here, then attempting to get this permit, and they're telling me, you know, the 5-foot setback, which at the time, I mean, I built in the same footprint, but, you know, I could concede the 5-foot setback. I wouldn't like it, but I can live with it. That'd be on my left side facing Wales. Because all the other properties that I see out, now there's a lot of properties if you go up and down like Taylor Road, Spruce Creek, Nova Road, that the city tells me those houses are allowed to have, even on a corner lot, a 6-foot fence due to their high traffic, I guess. Personally, I don't understand what the difference is if I live out here in a high busy area and they're telling me it's because, on mine they're telling me because of line of sight, for traffic, for safety. Well, even the way things are, you pull up to my corner and you can see clear down to the end of the next block. But it would make sense to me that these high traffic roads, that would be more of a concern than on a low traffic, lower speed limit road. I mean, I have a number of addresses. I've sent pictures that I've submitted to other properties that I believe are like mine. You know, so the long and short of it is, with a 4-foot fence, I'm in Ohio a lot of the time. And even if I'm down here, I'm not home all the time. Any kid, anybody could hop a 4-foot fence very easily. My pool doesn't have a screen room or whatever it is. Actually, the way it's built, the corner of my house, they tell me I could have a 6-foot fence if it goes right directly off the corner of my house. If I did that, the fence would actually be over top of the water in one little area. And the concrete of the deck goes out 42 inches past the end of the house. Therefore, even a screen room would require a variance. And the screen room starts, I've priced them about $12,000 and up. You know, I'm not able to do that. So to say that reducing me to a 4-foot fence doesn't cause a hardship, I disagree. You know, I mean, my wife and I both agree that if we would have known, because a 4-foot fence gives us zero privacy and very little security. From my pool deck, if I got a 4-foot fence with my grade change, that's going to hide me from probably about the knee down. You know, I mean, I got a 12-year-old niece that's going to be coming down. I got an 8-year-old nephew. Not to mention my boy. He's got a 1-year-old German Shepherd. He can hop a 4-foot fence, no problem. You know, and so, you know, I'm willing to concede. I think it would be a good compromise. I'll do the 5-foot setback, but just let me keep a 6-foot fence. You know, that's all I'm asking. Let me have my privacy. Let me have security for my home. When I'm in Ohio, sometimes not down here for 3 months at a time. You know, I mean, let's face it, there's criminals everywhere. People know houses of people that aren't there a lot, and the easier the access to them, the easier it is for them to get there, as well as just the kids can hop the 4-foot fence very easily, use a pool. You know, state law requires a minimum of a 4-foot fence for a pool, but you know, I kind of feel like that's keeping like your state minimum on your car insurance. You know, most of us keep more than the state minimum. A lot of the insurance companies require a 6-foot fence for a pool. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So, you know, in a nutshell, that's, you know, where we're at. We've gone round and round trying to, you know, find a compromise with the city. And in fact, when I first filed the variance, there's a mound of paperwork. It takes days to get it all done and sent in, and it says you can send in pictures if you want. So I sent in pictures with my $900 variance application fee, and kind of routed myself out even more, which I thought was already understood, because there had been a couple of magistrate hearings, and I talked with, you know, the city and whatnot and got those pushed back. So then they come back and they say, oh, we didn't realize this is an after the fact variance. The cost is $1,800 plus cost. So, you know, to be here today, it's cost me $1,800 plus whatever all the extra court costs are going to be, probably pushing $3,000. You know, so obviously I'm very serious about this, that I'm willing to pay and do what I got to do to secure my property, to keep my property safe, to keep the neighbors' kids safe. Because I'm telling you, I don't want to be the guy that the neighbor's kid and jumped the fence wanting to play and he drowned in my pool. I don't want to be that guy. And I don't think anybody in the city wants to be that guy that forced me to do that either. You know, because that's a reality. That kind of stuff happens. So I think at this time, that's in a nutshell all I have to say.
Right.
I may have some rebuttal if someone else speaks, but.
No, we've got, any of the folks who want to ask you any questions,
sure,
help them make a
absolutely.
decision here, if you'll hold on here.
Sure.
John, go
You
ahead.
on my end?
Yeah, I'll start your end.
Just some loose end questions.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of sympathy for you,
Mhm.
and the fact that you're in a corner lot gives you a lot more restrictions with setbacks, because technically you got two fronts to that, and then you have to
Mhm.
apply these front setbacks to two sides of your, so you're losing property owning a corner lot. So I do have sympathy for you on that. Your timeline here, you had your fence installed in 2016 in November, and in December 2016, code enforcement noted you with the code violation.
Mhm.
But then 5 months later, you submitted a permit. What was the big delay between the December 2016 to May 2017? Why did it take you 5 months?
Well, part of that time, well, number one, I had to be here to actually file it, but we had to get a survey done of the property, which took about 6 weeks or better
Okay.
for us to actually to get it scheduled, get it and paid for, and then get the survey back. And then I think the next trip I was down here is when I went and filed the actual for the permit, because they wouldn't even let me file for a permit without a survey, which I
Right.
just didn't have. I never got one when we bought the house.
So,
So it took some time to get that.
and then from that point, it's actually gone almost 2 years now since when you
Year,
started
yeah,
it.
year and a half, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I noticed that house was distressed. You said it had a prior owner that had a lot of, I guess, drug-related
It was
situations
a
in
drug
there?
house. The lady on my right side of me works for an EMT, and she was actually first on scene at the house for an OD. And yeah, and then like she told me when they cleaned the house out, it was full of needles, and I mean it had been an active drug house for a while. Yeah.
Okay. And I noticed on the pictures in our packet, we have two side-by-side pictures showing the existing fenced-in area, and then they were very kind enough to give us two color codes on blue and red, showing one of the preferred 6-foot fence is basically tied off flush to the side of the house. That's literally going parallel to the pool, and I can't tell, but it almost looks like it's almost touching the water line of your pool on the north side.
Well, yeah, the red one you're talking about, the red
Yeah.
line. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're saying
That's what they would like
that's
to
what
do?
they would like,
As-
but this picture is not real accurate. See, it shows that red goes right. You can see right to the overhang of the house. Well, that concrete comes out farther than.
Penelope Cruz, Community Development. That graphic is showing what the code allows. It's not,
Right.
it's not a staff preference, it's a code requirement.
Exactly. So the code is requiring us to put a 6-foot fence pretty much parallel to the water line. Now, what's the distance between the edge? Because sometimes I can't put structures near a pool.
So,
depend-
so this is, the code allows you to put a 6-foot fence depending on, it gives you two options. Either the front setback, which is 30 feet, or if it's a non-conforming lot, to be flush with the house, which this is 20 feet.
Okay.
So typically the front setback is 30 feet. You're already getting an extra 10 feet because the house is built 20 feet from the right-of-way instead of 30. So the code requires flush with the house. Now, according to the survey, it looks like the pool sticks out almost maybe approximately 3 feet. You know, the variance could have been requested to apply a 6-foot fence along the edge of there, but the request was to keep it where it's at on the property line.
Okay, and let's forsake for simplicity. New code requires, if I was to build a new house and put in a fence, and how far am I allowed to put a fence from a new pool? A perimeter pool? If I'm putting a pool in a backyard, a new house.
The fence requirements are from property lines, it's not from pools.
Okay,
The state law
so it
requires.
doesn't matter how close your pool is to the property line?
Yeah, there's pool, those are two different rules. There's pool setbacks,
Right.
5 feet to the, 8 feet to the water, 5 feet to the, deck.
Uh-huh.
And then depending on where your property is, you know, for example, here, you know, your fence can be on the rear property line.
That'd
but
be
if
a
you're
pool
on,
code,
But if
Johnny.
you're on a
Yeah.
corner
We got two
lot,
different codes
That'd be
to
a
deal
pool
with.
code.
yeah,
not-
the,
My concern is what I'm trying to bring up here is the existing code doesn't, I don't like a fence being so close to a water line if it was required. A person jumps over the fence to avoid an incident, they'll fall right in the pool.
Yeah.
This is a point. So in compliance to a current required code, this scenario doesn't seem the best suited for safety.
Yeah, I
That's
wanna
right.
say a pool code says you gotta have 3 feet surrounding your pool water.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
That's,
okay.
that was I may not, I tried to go around the long way, but that was my
Yeah.
point. There is a buffer going around the pool.
Supposed to be 3
And in
feet.
this particular case, you're avoiding that buffer if the fence is required to be at that area. So, okay.
But if that buffer's
Hold on, let me
required,
see. John, you
No,
got-
it's just my point that, you know, this is a gray area because it being in compliance doesn't necessarily mean in this particular scenario the safest compliance. That's all I'm saying.
That's why we're here. Maria.
well, so I was just trying to get clarification from John. So if there's a 3-foot buffer from the water line required by the state, is that what we're saying? Then if we're not providing that 3-foot buffer by making the fence go there, isn't it gonna get in trouble eventually anyway? No, I mean, I don't.
Not if they're applying for a variance right now.
Yeah,
I think
Okay.
we're
yeah, let's
allowed
have
to.
Penny make that
Okay.
call.
I mean, I'd have to pull the survey, but there's 3 feet of deck right there. The state requires only 48 square foot height, only a 4-foot height fence. It does not require a 6-foot fence. So you could put a 4-foot fence where that blue line is and meet state requirements.
And be 3 feet away.
And be,
Right.
you could put the 4-foot fence, you could put you know, the 6-foot fence is where the code for corner lots requires you to be flush with the plane of the house or the building setback, whichever is greater or less, so.
And,
Okay, gotcha.
and
But there's not a conflict here with state requirements.
no,
Okay,
and,
that's
and
what I was wondering.
to add to that, the word pool is what I'm using here. I think it would have been a very clean-cut case for me if this was a straightforward backyard with no pool. Then I can see myself not having issues of safety with children, especially in a corner lot. Also, I believe they said that the height of the pool is also limiting the visual of that corner. But the corner, there's a big tree there anyway. So the visual buffer for the lower fence is still obstructed by that tree, technically. And if you look at the street layout, it's not a very, very long street where someone's going to be driving relatively fast in that neighborhood because it's not a long block. So again, for children concerned, location of the required code and the height, I'm just, I just
But
don't
the
like.
question is on variances, in this case, there is an alternative which meets all the code and
Yeah.
can be done.
And that's
so
the
you know.
6-foot fence along the pool line.
No, a
Along the
4-foot
house
fence on the blue line.
Again,
well, yeah.
I'm talking 4-foot fence, which is a fence my dog can jump over.
I'm just
or
saying,
a
I'm
child.
pointing out to you that
Yeah.
when you look at the requirements for a variance,
Right.
in this case, there's an option which meets all the code
Mhm.
that could be built.
If there was a pool enclosure with locked
No, no, no.
screen doors, I'd feel a little safer too.
I'm just saying, as per the variance
But this doesn't
requirements.
have a pool enclosure, so the only form of protection from the neighborhood from that pool is a fence. And
Maria,
and that's it.
So he's allowed to build the 6-foot fence where the red line is, right? That's not a question at all.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. I think I'm good.
Vote.
Was this home a foreclosure?
Yes.
Anybody?
It was.
Oh. And the fence was 6 foot, it was on
Correct.
the property line.
Correct.
I wonder how that happened.
Had it been there, according to my neighbor Larry, which is here, it's been there,
Sir, just hold on.
had been there for maybe 30 years, and he said it's always been a 6-foot fence there. I think the pool was built, I think, in '82. But then, you know, as the city says, they tell me, well, their records don't go back that far to know if there was ever a permit for it or not. So, I mean, they say it's an illegal fence, but yet on the other hand, they really can't tell you because their records don't go back that far. Now, as far as, could you do a 6-foot fence on that, against that concrete? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could, but there again, two different things, issues that I have with that. Number one, it would still require a variance. Number two, there again, you're in that corner lot with a pool. You lose so much of that yard, and the edge of that pool comes out to where you've got very little walkway going around it on that side as well. You know, it just seems to me extreme to tell me that I would have to give up basically use of that entire side of the yard and come clear up to where you've got really almost no walkway around that pool. When a 6-foot fence, 5 feet off the property line, still gives, where it's at right now, you can pull up to that intersection, you can see clear down into the next block. And in that next block, which would be Wales, and I believe it's Mystic right here, there's a huge live oak tree where the sidewalk's dead end into the tree. I mean, it's right on the curve of the road. So if it's about line of sight for safety for there, then that tree would have to go.
Well, you know, and of course, you know, what we're trying to avoid is setting precedent. You know, if we do this, you know, we
Well, I
have the same
understand.
issue. But the other issue I had was I drove by your house and looked
Mm-hmm.
at it, and that philodendron or whatever that big plant is there.
Mhm.
I mean, even if that fence wasn't there, you
Right.
wouldn't have any line of vision down
Right.
the street.
I cut
It
that
really
thing.
blocks it. In fact, you can hardly see the fence,
Yeah,
you know, for the foliage there.
sure.
But have you ever looked at those covers that you can put over a pool? I know
I
you're
have
concerned
looked.
about safety, and
Uh,
they have those tamper-proof covers that you can cover your pool with, and they
You
usually
don't want to do that after every time you swim.
well when he goes out of town, you know, and they usually do that with foreclosures. You know, banks will come in and and you can't get into those things. You know, if you have to remove the fence, and you're concerned about the 4 or the 5 foot fence or whatever your compromise is, you know, that's another option for you. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm good.
that gives you definitely the safety, and actually, we have looked, and I've called almost every pool company that I can find in this area. Nobody sells them. Where the banks are getting them from, I don't know. I found them a couple places way up north, and they're not cheap. I mean, they're several $1,000s for those pool covers you're talking
The
about.
ones that's like a trampoline?
Yeah, that's
Stuff like-
exactly what they are, like a trampoline cover, and they're pretty difficult to get off and on.
Yeah, you can't get them all.
You know, yeah, I mean, so when you come down to get it off, you're fighting it. You know, if my 78-year-old mother and her girlfriends come down, they're gonna have to have somebody come open the pool up for them, because they're not gonna be
No,
able
I
to
didn't
open and
realize how
close it.
expensive they were, but.
You know, and there again, it
It's
just
just a lot.
gives you a 4-foot fence, doesn't give you any privacy there at all whatsoever. I mean, the neighbors across the street can look right there and see you full view, anybody driving by. You know, and again, like I say, if you go out and drive up and down Taylor Road, Spruce Creek, all these other places, there are lots and lots of corner lots that have 6-foot fences. Even though the secondary roads that they're facing, So that part of the house that's facing, say, Taylor, that should be the same, a secondary front yard, but they allow them to have a 6-foot fence because they say because they're high traffic. Well, if it's about line of sight and safety, then those high traffic, higher speed limit streets ought to be held to the same standard that I am. The fact that they're not seems a little discriminatory to me, you know.
Ready? Can we move
Yep.
on? Newton.
I get everything you're saying. I understand it, and I grew up there. I grew up as a child when they were building those houses. I was there, and I remember even just a few years ago, you know, seeing the fence. I didn't even need to drive by. I knew where it was.
Sure.
There was a time that things happened without permits, and there was a time that, you know, records were not cared for the way that they are now, digitally and stuff, that you have it. So, yeah, who knows what happened back in the day. The one thing, and this is more from my fellow commissioners, if you look at the Exhibit B, page 15 of the PDF, the boundary survey, if they come with the fence right off the wall of the house and go straight back, that's going to clip right through the pool deck that's there, or what's demarcated on the survey as part of the pool area. So that doesn't look like it works to put a fence across there, and that doesn't make any sense. You know, code for a reason, and if you do it one place, you got to be very careful that you make sure it's a unique situation that you're making a unique exception for. And I don't see anything that's unique about this corner. What I do see as unique is that the pool is in the way of where the fence, the 6-foot fence, should be. I would be, you know, not willing to say that we should put a 6-foot fence where it shouldn't be in this case, but I'm saying that perhaps putting the 6-foot fence not quite where it should be off the corner of the house is the thing that we should do as a commission. That's my suggestion, and no comment really. I understand everything you're saying.
Thank you, Newton. Lance.
Well, I've been stewing on this one for a while, and again, I appreciate you investing into Port Orange, you know what I mean, and taking a house like this and putting it back on the tax roll, and again, you've invested into Port Orange for a reason as well, and a lot of that reason is because of the codes that we do have. Yeah, I mean, you bought into something that probably, again, was good old boy back in the day, and this setback may or may not have existed back then, but unfortunately for you, it exists today. You have options, unfortunately, and those options aren't exactly what you want. The option of having a 4-foot fence out there to protect, you have an obligation as that homeowner to protect that pool. Okay, that's not a city requirement, that's an obligation of the homeowner, that you have to protect that pool. So how you protect that pool, again, is one of your options, okay? I'm generally about compromise, don't get me wrong. I try to compromise as much, and these guys will tell you up here that I'm more than lenient when it comes to compromise. So if you had a 6-foot fence, what would be the minimum you'd want it off that pool deck? Would it be on the deck or off right off the edge of the deck?
Oh, no.
Because the deck sticks out 3 feet off the edge of the house.
Right, well, yeah, 42 inches is actually what it sticks up off of. You know, again, I would...
Because they're saying the 6-foot fence has to go on the edge of the house. So that's 42 inches off of what's off your pool deck, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So if the 6-foot fence came off the corner of the house out 42 inches and went on the edge of the pool deck, would that suffice for you? I'm just curious.
Honestly, no. And the reason I say that, two different reasons why I say that. Number one, it really eliminates your area to even walk on that side of the pool. It's a kidney-shaped pool, so there's be an area there that, even though that concrete comes out 42 inches past the end of the house, there's probably one area that you're probably only going to have maybe, I mean, I'm saying off the top of my head, maybe 24 inches of walk space there. And then again, it eliminates, you lose that whole side of your yard completely as far as usable property.
I understand that.
You know,
And again, like I said, Brian, I'm about compromise, and I'm
Yeah.
just trying to find some options that may or may not meet you in the middle, but,
Yeah, well,
the
and
6-foot fence is obviously the issue, okay? It's the 4-foot fence is not the issue that we're talking about here today.
Right.
Because you know what I mean, you know where that's, you're willing to give 5 feet on the 6-foot fence right
Right,
now.
sure.
So, but,
and personally, I think that's reasonable, especially when you go out and look that however it's worded, however it got to be that way, the city's allowing the people on corner lots that their corners are like on Millowbrook Lane and Spruce Creek, you know, down on Nova Road.
and again, I can appreciate
And
that,
those
don't
are-
get me wrong,
Mhm.
I'm taking you on a case-by-case basis. I
Right.
don't look at anybody else's lot, I'm looking at
Oh,
yours, and I'm
yeah.
looking at the code. That's all I'm trying to do up here, but I'm trying to be fair,
For
so.
sure, exactly.
Okay, I have no more questions, thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Yeah, I looked at this really, I struggle with it too, because I appreciate what you're going through. I really do, I understand that, and fences and the offsets and things like that. And sometimes it gets crazy. The plain fact is, if you just had called the city and said, hey, do I need a permit for a fence, we would have
Well,
not been here.
I get
Um,
that, but, and there
the other-
again, it would have laid there,
I-
unsecured for 2-3 months.
We all went through issues
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Everybody did. Everybody had issues.
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying about the hurricane. When I look at what the requirements are to grant a variance, I'm trying to find something. And as Lance said, find a compromise here. If you said, gee, I'll put the 6-foot fence, 42 inches off the pool deck there, off the pool there. Cool. I kind of could have gone with that. You've got an option here to put a 4-foot fence in, though, that would be meet code and give you the fence, and everybody would be happy, and we wouldn't have to get a variance on that. But I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
I'm all set. Anybody else?
If you can,
John,
Mr.
go
Chair,
ahead.
we had, I guess he has a neighbor, I'd like to ask.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
offer it
okay.
to the public. Absolutely, that's next here. So thank you, sir.
Oh.
Anybody from the public wish to speak to this? Your wife or your neighbor? Anybody else? Come on up and just state your name and your address.
We gotta get the neighbor, he's gotta get
Yeah.
paid for this.
Hey, I'm getting paid for nothing. My name's Larry Baker, 5812 Clover Lane. Moved in there in 1989. And I taught my daughter how to swim in that pool. She's 28 years old. That fence, I don't know, the pool. And the pool that's in this here has got a cover, so a wood plywood. The house was a drug house. I called, complained about it to the city forever when I lived there. We had so much traffic down that road forever. I know it has nothing to do with the fence, except nobody could see in that backyard when they were doing drugs. And finally, the one got somebody out there when she OD'd. Finally got him out. City didn't do nothing, you know. And like I say, the house, the pool, the deck, and you know when they were all built. And there was no complaints about that fence being there since 19. And the hurricane come through, tore out most of the fences in that neighborhood. Nobody got permits to do them. You couldn't get a permit to do it. You couldn't get nobody to come out and give you a permit to do it. You'd be forever trying to wait for somebody. And they said, go ahead and do it. You need a roof? Do it. Covered up? Do it. Whatever it took was to do it. And I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with a lot of places that you cannot see. I go on some other property that has, you come up to Spruce Creek Road. I have to pull out on Newton past a palm tree and an oak tree is sitting on the corner of Newton and Spruce Creek to see down to the neighbor's grocery store before you can even pull out there and get your front end. And I know you know it's there. If you don't know it's there, you need to send the city down there and take a look at that. And there's 2 or 3 more on past Newton down there. I mean, the city done messed up all that area with the water planning, you know, to begin with. But somebody needs to do something with that tree and that right of way at Newton and Spruce Creek. And for this fence here, like I said, it's been there. I moved there 1989. I live across the street, and the pool deck that was there was a wooden deck that actually was on that piece of property, which got, you know, destroyed, which is not in this picture. And but like he says, his property goes down like that. He put the 4-foot fence over it. You can walk over it, or you're gonna see his legs right here with a 4-foot high fence, because the pool's up here, property goes down like that. So I guess I have to stop now.
Next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Mr. Baker.
Yeah.
Anybody else in the audience wish to speak to this? Seeing nobody in the public, we'll bring it back to the commission here. Anybody else have any questions, comments,
Yes.
anything you want to say? Go ahead, John.
Since I'm slow, I want to put these things in perspective. There are existing houses in that neighborhood that are in the same situation that his house is in, with the 6-foot fence, but they're grandfathered in because it was done some time ago, and they don't have documentation, but it's an existing structure. So if a hurricane came down and they had proof or pictures that that 6-foot fence was there and they were permitted to replace the damage, would they be allowed to do it?
I don't
Well, you know, it's funny though, I always thought when you bought a property, you always got a survey.
Mm-hmm.
So if you bought a property, it would show a fence
Well,
on a
there is
survey, right?
Well, not with a bank foreclosure. I think
Really?
it's as is.
You don't buy it, you still don't get a survey?
I don't think I got a survey when I bought
Never?
my house in Water's Edge.
I bet you did.
We did.
Not with a bank foreclosure, you
No.
don't buy
No?
them all day
I
long.
just, okay.
Ma'am, if you want to come up.
Just for encroachment purposes or something like that, I always thought you had.
Usually when the title insurance is issued, you have to get, if you're
Yeah, okay.
closing
Okay.
I was
it.
just curious.
So if the fence is existing, but it's been put up in the 80s, it's an existing, so
It's not conforming.
it's non-conforming, but they're not gonna do anything about it. But if the whole fence falls down due to a hurricane, now it's gotta comply with all new current existing codes, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So whether or not it was built or done, he's been there since 1989. His daughter's been swimming there, and the pool went up. So this fence has clearly been there in the 80s, but it has no documentation about it. But we just had somebody testify that verbally here, and it's in the minutes now, that the fence has been there for some considerable amount of time.
Well, regardless, the new fence that
Yeah.
got built, though,
Yeah.
Right.
needed to conform.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm just trying to get all the facts together, because I try to look at everything
Mhm.
individually, pending on the unique nature of the individuals. And obviously, we're not gonna cut through a existing fence. And listen, if you're digging fence poles parallel to this, you're also compromising the pool structure, because I do additions for houses, and I will refuse to be close to put a footer near a pool foundation in fear of cracking the pool or the foundation. So if you're putting fences in there or jogging them out, so currently the existing, you know, I wish the pool had an enclosure. It would make me feel safer. I'm looking at it from a parent perspective. I don't think a 4-foot fence really protects a child from drowning. That's the only thing that bothers me, is a 4-foot fence around a pool without an enclosure. That's where my moral issue falls with there. I've seen children climb over a gate, a child-proof gate, without an issue. I can see a kid walking home from school, throwing a ball into a neighbor's fence, and that fence is so close to the pool, it could be an issue. That's my moral issue with this. That's all I got to say.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just want to
Yes, ma'am.
remind everybody, the 4-foot is Florida Building Code. That is for a pool. That's meeting Florida Building Code.
Okay.
Marie, anything?
No.
Bo?
I'd like to ask the neighbor a question. Do you live directly across the street?
No, I live next door.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's it.
Newton, anything?
Nothing to add. I just, I think we need to bend code a little bit here, but I'm not sure how to do that.
Here we go. Lance?
So, and again, Johnny, to follow up on yours, go ahead, I'm gonna listen.
I can help you with that. So just to cover two things real quick, I just want to, remind the planning commission again that the corner lots are larger than, so about, the reason that they are designed larger is because of these additional requirements. So this particular lot's 20% larger than interior lots. So they have that additional space to accommodate these setbacks. The other thing I wanted to just note to help you out with that is, although it was not what was requested as part of these proceedings here tonight, if the planning commission wanted to vote on a different, something other than what was requested, say for example, a 6-foot fence, closer in, you can do that here tonight. You can vote to approve a variance and closer in a 6-foot for a 6-foot fence tonight. You don't have to go through another application or anything like that.
Good.
It's before you tonight. So if that helps. Newton, with
It
that.
helps me.
So you're saying like doing something like Lance was talking about?
Yeah,
where
like for
it's 42
example,
inches off?
if you wanted to look at Exhibit B of the staff report, the survey, where it clearly shows, the pool deck coming out approximately 3 feet off the plane of the house. If you wanted to, have a motion that the 6-foot fence be built along that edge, you have the ability to do that here tonight.
I don't think he was happy with that compromise.
Or,
I know he wants to keep it where it's at now.
or 5 feet in, could it be 5 feet in?
That's up to you all.
I'm
This
just
is
asking,
your-
yeah, okay, so,
Yeah,
okay,
you-
yeah.
We
the
could make a
variance-
motion
Okay,
to
we
We
do it
do
5
have
feet
to
in.
have a compromise because it can't be one way or another.
Yeah.
And I would strongly urge you that you can see the tone of us. We're all trying to work with you.
Right. Oh, I understand.
So,
Well-
it would be to your best interest to see if we could come with a balance that mutually makes everyone happy.
If I may, I just want to remind you, council set the criteria for variances. I mean, they're there for a reason, and it's not, it's a factor analysis. I understand, what's fair, not fair, that's not the consideration here. I'm just giving you the advice that you have a criteria to follow
Yep.
when you're considering a variance.
I would, thank you very much. I would say that if we make him put the 6-foot fence where by code it belongs, which would be off of the corner of the house, it's gonna go right across his pool deck. And that's not gonna work. I don't know how to word the motion, I don't know how to say it, but I would say as far as the fence goes toward the front of the house, put it where it clears the pool deck and gives maybe another foot or 2 off the pool deck.
Let me
something like that.
ask a question here before we go down this path. So, sir,
Mhm.
will you accept anything other than where the fence is right now?
Yes, I mean, I've stated that I think a fair compromise is I'll do the 5-foot setback off the line, but let me keep 6 foot in height. And from there, that's going to give you've got the grass area, it's probably 3 or 4 feet. You got the sidewalks another foot, 3 foot, and you got about 1 foot of grass coming off, so it's 4, 7, 8. That's probably going to give 12, 13 feet. Be, I don't know what that would be, 4, 5, 8, 9, probably 14 or 15 feet from the curb to the fence. I mean, you're talking about the length of a vehicle to be past the fence for the line of sight. I mean, the line of sight's going to be the same whether it's 4 foot high or 6 foot high. I mean, a lot of vehicles, especially if there's any foliage there at all, you're not going to look over top of the fence on down the line.
So
So-
when you say that, when I look here at what the staff report says on the 2 options, you're not willing to accept either one of those apparently.
Well, let me see what it is that you're referring
Page 4, special conditions. This is where we look at variances here and how we can approve a variance. Penny, correct me if I'm wrong here, if I say anything wrong. It looks like
Those
there are two options,
Those weren't necessarily alternative options for a variance. Those were, this is what code allows.
that's what I mean.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, so that's what code allows.
One of those two would be allowed.
Yes, you wouldn't even need a variance for that.
Right, so if he could get a 6-foot
And-
fence.
And that's what the building permit that he signed for and picked up was
Right.
for, was to move it 5 feet off and be 4 foot high. I mean, that's the building permit he accepted.
Well, that was a building permit that essentially I was forced to accept. I made a strong case at the time when I applied for this
Well-
permit. I said I wanted 6 foot in height, and you know they're telling me no, absolutely not. This is all it can be. And in fact, I went in there time and time again, doing the same thing, finding addresses I feel are like properties, bringing in
I hear
there,
you.
and
I
they're
got you.
telling me no. And I actually had to speak to an attorney to even find out about a variance. You know, nobody in the city building ever mentioned to me, hey, you can file for a variance or anything like that. So, I mean, to me, I think a fair compromise, like I say, I'll do the 5 foot setback, where a 4 foot fence would be anyway, but let me keep 6 foot in height. You know, gives me the security, gives me the privacy.
I got you.
and-
All right, anybody else have anything else? No? Entertain a motion?
So we're just gonna vote this or the other, no?
I asked if there was anything else. Do we have anything?
Well,
So we're at the point where we're at a
Newton
motion.
said it, I'm kind of in there, even Lance said it, so I don't wanna just prematurely, harshly vote on something where, again, there could be another option. And I
I
don't,
would like us to see us at least get the fence off of his pool deck. Off that 42 inches.
And I'd like to see, keep the privacy, but if you look at the two photos next to each other, page 9 of the PDF, the red line on the left where the fence is now, and the blue line where the 4 foot fence
Right.
could go. If we were to, where the fence is now on the Wales Avenue side of the house, if we just moved the fence in to where the blue line is,
That's 5 feet.
that's 5 feet.
yeah, that's what he's asking.
That's what he's
That's what he's
saying.
asking.
he
Or
would
if
do.
we, or if we move this 6 foot fence in,
Can I offer a suggestion?
yes, please.
What about a compromise of 50% of what the setback is, and a typical setback in some of the other zoning districts is 15 feet. So instead of 5 feet off the right of way, 15 feet off the right of way. That gives you, it's not right on the pool deck. There's space off the pool deck, but it's also not right off the right of way as well. For 6 foot height, 15 feet off the right of way.
5 feet off the house.
Huh? I would have to scale off how much it is off the house, but 15 feet off the right of way. So
Yeah,
Is
how
that
much
gonna
would
give
that
him
be?
enough room to have,
there's
because
space off the
because
deck.
on the survey, the pool kind of, it's not parallel with the wall of the house, so that's gonna give him some room.
So this is 5 feet off. So if you just say another 5, it'd probably be right around in here. So it's not
Yeah.
touching the deck.
That's what I have in mind, and not going past where it already goes toward Clover Lane. That's what I already have in mind.
Without taking measurements, I don't know that her measurements are accurate. I think 15 feet. I think 15 feet's gonna put it.
Can you
almost back up
show
against
him
the
where you were
house.
pointing to?
Yeah, you're talking between the red line and the blue line, that's where the,
Pretty much right in the middle.
yes, almost close to the middle between the two fences.
15.
So that also gives you a buffer around the pool area.
Can someone make a motion here if you wanna go
I
and
will,
offer
based on
something?
what
No.
she's about to tell me, I'll be happy to.
I'm sending one of the planners to go up and get a scale. I will scale it off this, and we can show you from the survey where 15 feet will be. This is the survey.
I like your idea, I do, I think.
I'm
I think
99% confident it won't be touching the pool deck, but it'll also be a compromise where it's not right at, just the 5 feet.
Well, I'll be happy to wait because I think that might make, at least people
But
up here.
The other thing I would like to just add and note though is the code requirements say fence or wall. So right now, the fence and retaining wall is above 6 feet. So something that needs to be acknowledged is if it does move from the current location, the measurement starts at the bottom of that retaining wall, not the retaining wall plus a 6-foot panel. That's not the way the code is written.
The
It's
retaining.
actually supposed to be from grade of the sidewalk, is it not?
Well, it's measured from the bottom of the actual fence or wall. So
Okay.
that's why right now it's 6 feet 7 inches. It's not. It's even
Oh,
above
I
6
I
feet.
see. Okay.
I wouldn't be
So from the
moving-
top of the top of the fence to the very base of the retaining wall, 6 feet. Okay, so if it's a wooden cedar fence, basically from a contractor's perspective, leave the picket tops alone. You just take your meat and you just take circular saw and you cut the bottom part of the fence so it stays in a 6-foot compliance.
Well, I understand that. The panels are 6 foot, and in this, I probably wouldn't move to do the 5-foot setback. I wouldn't move that retaining part because that's retaining the soil. If I move it, all that soil is just going
Right.
to wash back out over the
Right.
sidewalk. So, and Ms. Cruz seems to be very concerned about that, but the fact of the matter is, with my elevation, the way it drops off, even on the 5-foot setback, only lowers the top of that fence 2.5, maybe 3 inches from where it's at right now, because you're moving it upgrade instead of downgrade.
So
If that
I'm-
makes sense.
If I'm a child walking on your sidewalk, okay, and I'm at the sidewalk, I'm looking at a retaining wall that's maybe up to my shin or my
Yeah,
my
6
you know,
inches.
6 inches, okay.
That's
and
all
then,
it is?
And then from
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
there's a fence.
Correct.
So that we understand what they're asking is a fence, probably going to be less than what that retaining wall is. If that retaining wall is 6 inches, you're cutting 6 inches off of 6-foot fence.
Right.
It will still total a 6 foot. So technically, if I'm in the sidewalk, I'm still getting a 6-foot barrier of protection from your private backyard in your pool area.
It's not gonna be from your side, it's gonna be from the outside.
Right.
It's got to be from the outside.
Right.
Yeah, from a sidewalk. So if it's a cedar fence and that retaining wall, they shoot a height elevation, and off that sidewalk, that retaining wall, the top of that is 6 inches. You're going to take 6 inches off your fence, and you still have a 6-foot privacy fence,
Right.
which is safer than a 4-foot fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
And it's only one item on this agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Newton, go ahead.
can we, I forget what the Robert's Rules of Order, can we suspend this conversation until staff gets what they want to show us and move on to commissioner comments and staff
Where are
comments?
you at? He,
I'm just saying that this survey is not scaled to that.
Is he gonna be back real quick?
I think it's gonna put that fence about a foot off that deck, is what it's gonna do if you put it at 15 feet off.
Which I don't think is a bad compromise.
So it's not on the deck.
Not on the deck.
It's off, it's off the deck by a foot.
And that gives you enough room to walk around the.
Yes. And they assume more of their backyard too. From
And that
their
beats
perspective,
it
their
beats up.
backyard got a little bigger. Because if your worst case scenario is you lose a lot of backyard if this variance doesn't go.
Yeah, with any chairs on that side of it, you can't walk around them with that. That 15 foot's gonna come almost to the pool deck. It's not gonna gain much of anything. I mean, as far as for corner lots being bigger, they're bigger, so I'm sure we pay higher taxes.
Let's just, hold on.
Alright, I've got,
Here it comes.
is he coming?
I think
There
he's
he
coming.
Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice job, nice job. Now that you've had your workout for the night, John didn't have to watch it on Facebook.
You got your,
Hey,
Fitbit
I was
on?
getting a video.
You got your count, you didn't get to count all those steps?
Can we vote that he gets a Segway?
I don't know if it's anymore.
I don't think you're gonna find that, you're not gonna find that in the budget.
Anymore.
Really?
You're not gonna get that off the half-cent sales tax either, I don't believe.
Ow.
Easy,
Had to
killer.
Go there.
Easy.
The TV audience is getting bored. They're about to flip over to the news.
And I think they're gonna watch the Space Channel and see what's going on.
They're just waiting for Jeopardy.
I don't have a projector anymore, but,
Just basically, how far is it to the pool
Yeah.
deck from the curb?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we
from
really
the
that's what
want
we
to get
wanna
an
know.
idea of.
I don't know. It's about 2.5 feet off the deck.
30
So at
inches
15 feet will be 2.5 feet off of the deck.
I mean, I can pass this around.
Plus
so
or
you can
minus.
See the blue line.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'll
All right.
share it with you there for real quick. Okay, 2.5 feet.
And that's if we do a 15-foot setback.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
I think that's a good compromise.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly.
He's got room, he's got the 3-foot deck plus the 2.5 feet.
Okay.
So that's 5.5 feet.
Good.
Newton, you got it there. You can make a motion based
Yeah,
on that.
I was gonna say, I move to approve this.
There's other stuff drawn on there.
Yeah, you want
Can you
to be a little bit more
verbalize
clear
it?
on what you want.
How do you,
you
how
wanna
do you
move to-
verbalize that?
That's
Yeah.
15 foot.
I move to, Penny, how do you want it, how does that
Verbalize.
verbalize, does 15-foot setback?
Do you want the same, sorry. Would you also want the same distance from this part of the deck that sticks out as well? So consistent, because then you would have to state that dimension as well, because typically.
Oh, the diagonal?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the first one would have been
So if it's-
15 foot off of the property line, or off the.
From off of Wales, and
Right
then
away.
if you want a similar dimension around,
Will it hit
Well,
the tree?
wherever you have the blue line on there right now,
Yeah.
I'm
the
talking,
line, that's,
Yeah, but that's only on the Wales side.
Yeah.
so for example, it would, like, this is what I'm trying to say. Because typically the fence goes back on the plane,
Mhm.
so you have to address both sides, both fronts.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying.
The Wales front
Yeah.
and the
And the-
And
Clover
the
Lane front.
okay, so,
Like, would you want 2.5 feet
All the way,
all
so
the
it's
way around,
consistent.
or some other dimension?
the green,
This, right here. Because you need to address this dimension as well as this dimension.
so the blue pen, the ink pen line here.
Yes.
Why are we addressing that dimension if we're just saying it's 15 feet off of,
Because when you're dealing with the plane of the house,
what do I care what the
if
house
you're
is?
taking it, that's what the code requirement is. So if you're now giving something, if you're giving a different dimension.
The code
for the
requirement is
secondary
what?
front,
But the code requirement is the fence has got to be X much off the property line, right?
Okay, the blue ink, this line right here.
Oh, I see what you, oh, that.
Here, maybe
Yeah,
we can do it
'cause
on
you-
this.
you
This
gotta
this
go-
might
Oh,
be
Now I
easier.
follow you, Penny.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. The blue ink pen that's nearest the pool deck, right? Oops, sorry, pass it back down.
No, I've got it. Unless you
I
guys
just woke
need-
up 20
with you.
people at home.
So we're talking about this dimension over
Do
here.
You don't have us on screen.
So do we need to make a
Bump.
motion
Mhm.
to approve with an exception?
You can make a motion to approve a 6-foot fence, and it's up to you how you want to word it. If you want to word it with, 15 feet off of Wales, and I can measure what the distance is off Clover, or if you want to provide a specific
Measurement from the
measurement
pool
off
deck?
the pool deck. It's shown on the survey, so we can measure it either way. If
You
you
said that
want to
was
say
30 inches.
If you want to say
On the
2.5
Wales side.
feet or 3 or whatever you want to say off the pool deck,
You
we
got
can
that,
do it.
Newton?
However you.
So,
I would entertain a motion to amend that we would allow a 6-foot fence 30 inches off of the Wales side of his pool deck and 30 inches off of the Clover Lane edge of the pool deck.
I'll second.
So moved.
Second.
And second. Does that make sense to you?
Did you get
Penny?
that?
Is that something you can?
And that's basically what you
Did
tried
you
to
hear my
say.
motion?
Because-
Did you
Huh?
hear the motion that I suggested?
Yes.
Okay, motion by Newton. to-
Second by, yeah.
Second.
By Maria, to allow 30 inches off of the Wales side of the pool deck and 30 inches off of the Clover Lane edge of the
For
pool
a,
deck.
well, for a 6
6
foot
foot
fence.
fence.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Call the roll on the motion.
No, sorry.
He doesn't
Okay,
accept
well,
that.
Well, you know what, that's,
Okay.
That's what we're.
Okay,
the
we-
motion we're
let's
making.
make a
We're gonna vote
motion
on
and
it.
Trying to
vote.
compromise
Yeah,
here.
All
I
right.
understand, I've tried to compromise too.
Okay, so
Yeah,
basically,
but-
from what I understand.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
just
we got the
we gotta
motion
vote
here.
on it.
John Junko,
Yes.
Maria Mills Bennett,
Yes.
Bobo Femi,
Yes.
Lance Green,
No.
Newton White,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas Jordan.
No. Motion passes, I believe. So, the variance, main variance request now includes a 6-foot fence, 30 inches off the Wales side of the pool deck and 30 inches off of the Clover side of the pool deck.
That's if they
Okay.
want it. They can contest it, as I believe,
Yes,
right?
that is what
Yeah,
we're
you can
recommending
contest
to
if you want.
Now
council.
that's the.
So do we need to,
panel
do we
size,
need to go
6
back
feet,
to
right?
the
6
initial
feet.
variance and
Hold
vote on the
hold
initial
hold on.
variance?
I got
or
a
no?
question over here. Hold
Okay,
on.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
The panels are 6 foot.
The-
That's what we're
No,
saying.
top of the
The
fence.
top of the
Okay,
fence
that's
has
all right.
6 feet above
That's
the
fine.
Total 6
grade
feet.
where
Okay.
it
Right,
exists.
right.
Right.
Okay, right?
Mr. Chair?
Is that correct?
So the applicant, if the planning commission, if that is what is approved, is the 6-foot tall fence or wall, 30 inches off the pool deck, both fronts, the applicant can either revise the building permit consistent with that allowance and get an improved building permit for that. We can process that really quickly in-house, and then amend the fence accordingly. Or they can appeal the decision of the planning commission. We need that in writing within 5 business days to the city council. No new evidence can be provided at that hearing. And those are pretty much the options. Or if that does not happen, then we'll be back in the same, code situation.
Is there
Billy, she's
additional-
speaking to you there, just.
Mr. Chair?
Okay, all right, just wanna make sure.
As long as we're under the understanding,
hold on.
you say no, new evidence can be provided, that the fact that I can show like properties that have fences, that you're not gonna, I'm not gonna go in there and you're gonna say, no, you didn't give me exact addresses, because I can prove, I can give exact addresses.
But that's something you'll have to deal with, if
Well, I
you
know
can
what
work
she
with
just
her.
said, I couldn't provide
It's
new
whatever the
evidence.
That's just part of the appeal
Right.
process, sir.
I just wanna make sure that,
It's whatever the planning commission was able to see. You cannot present new information.
well,
We-
that address is right here, I know.
If he reapplies for a permit, additional cost?
No, we can do a revision and just
Okay,
reissue
right.
it.
Okay, Lance, I'm sorry, go
So,
ahead.
Penelope, do we need to go back to his initial variance request? Or the one that we've changed his request
We amended.
for something odd, we amended his request. Do we need to vote on his initial variance request as well?
I think your motion, and the city attorney
trying
can
to-
speak to that. I would think that your motion would need to be to deny the initial request, but approve an adjustment in this
You want us
manner.
to re-vote on the initial? Just to.
I think
Because you're
so.
not
I thought
approving
if
the
we
initial
appealed
request.
it, we, that
All right,
was kind
well,
of-
I'll tell you what, just to house
It
clean.
wasn't either
I-
or, I mean,
amended
it's,
it.
Yeah, I think you could clean it up with.
Okay, all right, well then I'll make a motion to approve case number 19-1900000002.
The original,
The original, as
Okay.
presented
As
to us.
presented.
okay?
second.
We have a motion and a second on the original variance request. Go ahead and call the roll on that.
John Junko,
No,
Maria Mills Bennett,
No,
Bobo Femi,
No.
Lance Green,
No?
Newton White,
No.
Chairman Thomas Jordan.
No. Fails.
Okay.
Unanimous. Do I have another motion?
That should be that.
that's
So we
it.
already,
That should
we
be
already,
it.
we already moved for what?
Oh, we already had the other one?
We
already
had the
other one.
amendment, we had the initial vote, now we move on to, I guess, the next agenda.
All right, sir, so denied the original request, but we did approve our modified version. You have the right to appeal to the city council.
5 days.
We need that, like you said, in 5 business days.
In writing.
There's in writing, and then there's $100 fee for an appeal.
You forgot, you failed to mention that.
I'm telling you right now, sir.
All right, thank you anyway.
And you won't get this much
Thank you.
time to talk, so
Thank you.
phone in your speech.
Moving on to other business, any commissioner comments? Lance?
You starting with me?
Oh, Lord.
Come on up, Tim.
Oh, Tim.
Nice
Don't
socks,
worry,
too,
John's
man.
buying margaritas after we're done.
Sweet.
Anybody seen a cat with a hat?
Here's a lot of activity going on at the Williamson / Airport Road Exchange, I guess. How is anything happening with the little strip mall with the daycare?
Yeah, we've got basically site plans that have been submitted for that then, just initially came in, so we're beginning the review on that right now. Staff just got those plans to review, so we don't have any indication as to, any significant issues with that yet or not. It's just beginning the process, so you'll see that coming along more and more through the development activity report. And
Seems like a lot of activity in that area though coming up. No, I mean.
We've basically, if you read the weekly reports that we do at the city manager's office, there we've got basically that multi-tenant building proposed. There's also some pre-applications on the other side of Oakwater Lane. I believe they want to do a assisted living facility there similar to the Seagrass facility.
Right.
That would require a PCD amendment. So that item, if that comes forward, you'd be seeing that here at the Planning Commission, since you guys review the PCD amendments and eventually go to council. Then of course you've got on the other side of the road, you have the self-storage facility, which is under construction. Permits have been issued, so that's going to start going vertical here shortly.
Disappointed to see how many trees we took out in the front of that property.
Oh, me too. Wow.
Really did. I mean,
But on
it's
that
funny
property
because
though,
That hurt.
that property though, when you look back on that property, you see the trees in the back there. That's not where the property ends. There's a significant easement of trees back there, wetlands in
remember
the
that.
I
back
know there is
portion
in the
of
back,
it.
and I liked it. They
but anyone-
fooled me when they initially cleared it because they were working in there and everything's looking good up in the front on the little curve.
And then
and
they-
poof,
then
they
they-
took it all out.
Like overnight.
And I ran into Margaret Momberg. I'm like, what happened? So, anything? I noticed that we're doing the light project along Dunlawton, and that looks to be coming along. We're putting lights all along the sidewalk and everything. What are we doing out at the intersection out here at Williamson and Airport or whatever with the pink lights that are still hanging wires and looking decrepit?
We're looking basically to do, once we get complete with that project, to move into that area and do something similar, getting rid of the pink lights and installing street lights in that location then.
So they're going to just stay dangling for another year,
We
as
can-
is.
Let
Unfortunately,
me know which ones they are. I'll see if we get with Public Works because
they're all of them.
all of them are dangling.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they're all ruined. I mean,
I've walked a couple times there. We had a project, and some of them are basically still intact. They're not lights up there. I think the ones that are
But you know what I'm saying, it
dangling
just-
off it, then we can get with those.
Each one
but
needs
if-
to be looked at, is that what you're saying?
yeah, they're all, it's just we've let them go, unfortunately, and now
Right.
it seems like they're going to go for another
the
year.
way that
before we get
process is
fixed,
set up,
but
we basically assumed responsibility for all those walk lights
I know.
on there, and basically, and there the pink ones basically they fade with the sun. On that one, they look. That's why there's like 18 different colors of pink out there.
But they don't last either. Unfortunately, they just
No.
don't last. And I mean, which is a bad decision. I know it was a great vision, but it just didn't. it
Well, and
didn't
that's
work
in
out,
multiple
but-
areas of the city. We have the unique lighting everywhere.
We'll see if we can look at basically the
Can't you
ones
do
that
anything
basically there
about
could be a
the sun
hazard. We do have all the indications of which ones are on private property, which ones we have easements there, and see what we can do with Public Works. At least take care of the ones that could be possibly a hazard in terms of something dangling that could fall on someone.
I'm just saying there's open electrical. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Is the new Takara starting?
What's that? Yes.
Building permits?
Yeah, building permits been issued and should be
Pre-con?
going that should be going vertical too on that
Sorry,
one.
for
There's
which
not a
one
lot
was
of-
that?
Takara?
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's over by Five Guys in the pavilion. They're moving to
Yeah.
a standalone building.
Sorry.
Where they got that,
Cleared.
where they got that fence up.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Fence
Tim.
has been up.
Newton?
Nova Road, the, is it all aboard storage? Where, nearby where AutoZone is?
Yes.
I was driving by there today and I noticed there's a bunch of trees, or at least a tree that's all cut down, and it looks like there's an opportunity to connect those parking lots.
No, you're referring to the,
This
you're
was-
referring to the
No,
Waffle
it's-
House side of the Nova Road.
No, it's a, yes,
Yes.
it's a huge tree that
There's
they cut
there's
down.
an FDOT drainage project going on there with incorporation with Clark Property to use some of their property. All the subdivisions, basically back behind it, do not drain. They don't have an outfall. So FDOT has some property down there along with part of Clark's. They're piping that through between all aboard storage and Waffle House to an outfall that DOT has in Nova Road. That's why the trees are coming out then.
So now we just need a bridge.
So
So
now
now
we
it's
just,
a perfect
We
opportunity.
are getting closer and closer to the bridge because now we got it piped on that side. So in terms of if you're looking at it in phases, this is phase one.
Yes.
But this basically is what's going on there now, and the trees are being removed is part of a drainage project.
is it an opportunity to get those parking lots interconnected?
We are working on that.
Nice.
Basically, but that can't be part of the DOT's permit because unfortunately DOT won't pay for that
But it's a
processing.
start.
We tried, but they said no.
Did they pay for the trees that they cut down? Permit?
They got the permitting through that process. I don't know if they paid for the actual tree itself. But
Oh,
See,
were you all set?
and the clock is ticking for Williamson and Madeline to May 1st, I believe it is.
May 31st.
May 31st.
We have site plan
I'm
in. We
counting
have
down.
DRC meeting on that site plan next week. Then.
Really?
So yeah, we are moving forward on that, and I believe the building permit to do kind of the facelift on the outside is also anticipated to come in
Can
here
we
shortly.
attend that meeting?
What?
Which
Say-
For
say it
real?
again.
I thought they were already
do-
past the deadline, ever even make it in to submit. No?
deadline is May 31st of this
Wow.
year to have a site plan and building permit approved, and then from 1 year off of May 31st to get them completed.
So
Wow.
they can milk this.
They've already.
they've gotta
Well,
have-
I'm just
get-
saying.
Well, I mean, they are. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
What
yeah,
potentially
they at
we're
that
looking
point, but
at?
they do have building plans in here, so we are working
What
toward
are they
being
wanting to do there?
basically just essentially bring the site up to code. There's no tenant yet. They just want to pretty much bring the site so it looks like a brand new shell building with no tenants in it.
Who owns it?
It's basically, I believe it's a group
bank?
that's headed by Dr. Hamiden, basically a local developer here in the area. Then, so
So
that's what we've been
let
working
me
with.
ask this question. So they get, if they got their site plan
Mhm.
and their building permits approved by May 31st, that gives them another full year.
To do the construction.
So that, oh, geez,
Mhm.
I see where they're going.
Yeah, they're
I
milking
told
it.
you guys. I told you
Yep.
guys not to do
So
this.
we
Well,
could
Okay,
have the
and then
same
the-
issue
my-
a year from now.
My last
Um,
thing.
Well, we are
speaking
Oh,
of-
I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I was gonna say my last thing is Riverwalk. The pathway project seems to be moving along at warp speed. Is there anything on getting any buildings up out of the ground there? Is that,
All we have right now is the trail being constructed.
when does the development order or whatever has to be, when does that die for those buildings?
If they don't get the pathway constructed by the end of September, that eliminates that MDA amendment. So that's the next milestone on that MDA. If they do get it constructed and completed, then it extends it for I believe another few years. Then
You're talking about the pathway from,
from
The event lawn
Chamber
basically
to
down
Herbert
to-
Street basically has to be completed by the end of September.
to Herbert Street.
I mean, yeah, basically has to be completed by September. That keeps that MDA regarding the towers and that's still active.
Doesn't have to go all the way to Dunlop.
No, it just basically was just in the that development area then,
So from Herbert back up to Ocean or back up to the
which
park?
ties into our park.
Right, right.
That's all I got.
Can I ask one more question? So back to the Madeline building, because
Yes, left
man,
start.
I'm going through the
Last.
roof. Is this the same group that we have the agreement with now?
Correct. That was the initial person that came and made the MDA amendment request. The ownership has not changed since this came in.
Wow. I can't believe that we're actually entertaining it, but
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're within their time frames of that MDA, so we're processing the code. We're processing that site plan.
all right.
Why don't you go
Everybody
buy
that
that
voted,
from them, Lance?
everybody that voted on 3 years, look what you're getting. Vote.
Very quickly, Giuseppe's,
Mhm.
building's gone, big pile of rubble there. What are they gonna do with that parking lot?
Make it a new parking lot in that
Is
area.
that gonna be a complete,
Complete
parking area?
yeah, complete parking lot with landscape buffers then. So it's a continuation of that existing, that parking lot kind of in the center, will be pushed all the way to Herbert Street.
Yeah,
So that's, they are actively constructing that right now.
and doing a great job.
Yeah, yeah, looks
So-
good.
yeah, so, thank you.
You good, Murray?
It looks beautiful, the building, the Giuseppe's building. I don't have anything else, just adding on to Bo's, because I love the way it looks.
You like pizza, I know. you know.
I actually hate pizza, but they
Hey
have
there.
other good food.
Hey there, Johnny.
Yeah, noted earlier, and this
Oh,
is a
yes.
courtesy to one of our commissioners that's not on the board. I've noticed that he's been absent for about 3, and I guess it's the second unexcused. I don't know if we need to reach out to him to see if he can fill this position, because he is a very important part of this board, as we all are.
You vote.
And his opinion is valued, but if he does not have the ability to be here, maybe he needs to let us know, cause I don't know, I guess the rule is you can only miss 3 meetings, and I don't know what the legal clarity of that is, but maybe we need to evaluate or reach out to the city council to have them determine to maybe possibly fill that slot with someone that's capable of being here.
Thank you for saying that. I was wanting that same thing was on my mind, and
I think
Yeah,
this is
3
the
is-
4th meeting,
Yeah.
actually.
I don't know how many.
and we do have guidelines in which,
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I've been here for 6 to 8 years, I've missed 1 meeting, and if he can't make it, this is very important.
This is important
I
stuff.
have a
yeah,
lot of,
I definitely agree with that.
I weigh
Let
this
the-
board
let
very
the
heavy.
record show.
What we can do if with the commission's approval, we can send a letter to the city council on my signature as chair, I guess, saying, hey, your
Yep.
representative hasn't shown up for the 3 meetings as per the rules. We may recommend that you reconsider his
Yeah.
position on the board.
I know we have, with the city clerk office, there's a file of people that have been interested in this. Maybe need to open that file up and reach out if,
I think there were
He
5
can't.
applicants that night here.
There's quite a few for that,
So,
yeah.
well,
Exactly.
again,
Thank you,
it's
thank you for
just-
that, Johnny, yep.
all right?
Is that
That's
all
all
right?
I
That'll
have
work
to
for
say.
us? We can
I
do
think
that?
you can't vote on it tonight.
No, I don't wanna vote.
No, no.
You can
But,
put it on the next agenda.
yeah, I think it needs to go on your next agenda.
All right.
Because that
We
would
just
be
Decide
have to
that's the
recommendation.
agenda if you would.
Too.
Then you would vote on the recommendation to go to council.
Okay,
to-
that'd be good. Cool.
Okay.
You're done, John?
Yes, sir.
The only other one I had was on
Oh,
Ridge.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, he's
It's a
not.
public we have Port Orange Family Day starts tonight. Tonight we have catered food trucks and we have a 4-day celebration with the city. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have a lot of fun, carnivals and a whole bunch of neat stuff. So this is my plug to invite the city and
Shameless
everyone else to come see us at Port Orange Family Day.
When's Bob
We're gonna have a
Ford,
lot of fun. Port Orange Family Day.
when's Bob Ford Day? Isn't it
Thank you, Johnny.
31st?
I don't know that. I haven't even seen the schedule yet. I haven't memorized it.
Quick question from me on Ridgewood. There's the 4-acre property. I've seen the signs up for the zoning notice, and there's been a application submitted. The big 4-acre lot, Ridgewood.
Correct. Yeah, where the wall is in. Yeah,
Yes.
where that, yeah, there's
Yes.
a residential project proposed there,
Okay.
like 26 units, single
Okay.
family and townhome units coming in then.
Yeah.
So that is under, again, a PUD. So staff is reviewing that right now. When that's ready to come before planning for city council, it'll come before you guys, so you'll get to see that and make a vote on that then.
Can you make a requirement that they fix that wall before they get?
We are
any kind
working
of
with them
approval?
right now to get that wall
It's been
repaired.
a while
Is that
since.
the one at the
already-
end of Farmbrook there, or?
Yeah, yeah, that wall's that's been
That thing's sweet.
2 months, yeah. Anything else? Thank you
Motion to
very,
adjourn.
very much. Thank you, staff. We
Adjourn.
appreciate you guys tonight.
Adjourn.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Yeah.